So welcome to the Sawyer Viola show, you guys. I'm here interviewing Sarah and Matt. I met you both when I got to be interviewed for your upcoming documentary, Moving into Adulthood. Would you both tell the viewers a little bit about who you are and what led you to create your film?
You want to start, Matt?
Sure. Yeah, I'll go ahead. Well, I mean, well, thanks first of all, Sawyer, for having us here. It is great to see everybody, gathered in one virtual place, but it's great to see both of you again. So yeah, so my name is Matt Park. I am a multimedia journalist with the University of Oregon, as well as a assignment editor, content discovery editor for KGW News. I, like Sarah, am passionate about storytelling in all aspects, and I guess what led us to create this film? Well, it was a project that started off in one of our classes. I believe it was it Foundations of Multimedia Journalism? That could be wrong, but I believe it was the Foundations class. I was, we had to pitch a story for the for the final project in the class. I was scrambling. I didn't know what to do, and our advisor Wes Pope shared a news article about the PSU cohort, and so I got in touch with Mary Morningstar with your program, just talked to them and got a sense of what you guys were doing and what you guys were going through, because we were at that point still coming out of the pandemic, and one thing led to another, and got Sarah on board, and it just really took off and became its own thing. I know Sarah just defended this as her terminal project, so I'll let you get into that.
Yeah, so my name is Sarah Shively, and I'm really honored to be here on your show, Sawyer. Thanks for having us. As Matt mentioned, this was something that evolved out of a classroom project. Our instructor, Wes Pope, had met one of your fellow students, I think a year or two before, on the streetcar, I believe. And that got him thinking about this as a great project to follow through on. And I was trying to work on a different project, and I wasn't having any luck with it whatsoever. And Matt had already gotten this project underway. And so I was thrilled when he said, yeah, sure, you can join me. And it's been a really incredible journey. We didn't expect it to take as long as it did, but in the end, I'm really glad that we were just patient and let things run their course, because I think we were able to end the piece on a much more interesting note. When it came time for us to refocus on the terminal project, this was something that I had been, the Moving into Adulthood piece, I had been editing it and picking it up over the course of the summer and the fall, and had initially intended to do something altogether different for my senior terminal project. But when I talked to Wes about it, he was like, well, I know you really want to finish this piece, and it sounds like there's more to be shot and more you need to do. So why don't you take it on as your major project? So that's how that ended up. And Matt then sort of rolled off onto his project about Japantown. And so here we are. And it all kind of at the very end there sort of came to a quick ending, because we finally got footage from Africa about Wyatt's trip there. And the very last thing that went into the project just about 2 weeks ago was your footage from Nike.
That's so cool. Obviously, getting to go to Africa, that was probably very fun for him. So that was probably so cool So did one of you guys go with him?
No, that the footage you see was entirely shot by his mother. And Dane went with him to Africa, and then she returned and he stayed. And as far as I know, he's still there.
Okay.
But we had a conversation, you know, when he was leaving. I said, boy, it'd really be nice if we could get some footage of him actually there. I really wanted to have that as sort of a resolution for him and his journey, the arc of his story. In a lot of ways, yours had already completed with the move. Remember when we shot the move?
Mm-hmm.
And then we came back a year later and you were going strong with Nike and everything was going great. And so we had a lot of that sort of wrapped up. The new part for you was the fact that you were now actually speaking with the people in corporate and doing these other things and becoming more and more of a spokesperson for people with disabilities working at Nike.
Yeah, that's so cool. So have you had any previous experiences working with the disabilities community?
Well, I would say very, yes and no, but nothing too in depth. Actually, back in the day after I finished high school, which is a while ago, I worked as a camp counselor for the Los Angeles Unified School District, and what that basically meant was I was, working with a different set of kids of different backgrounds every single week. And occasionally we would have kids that would come up with different forms of disabilities. I never knew before each week what I was going to be working with. So I think just having that background alone just really helped me develop an open mind to people's different life experiences. But that was really, it. So again, I nothing at all specialized with the disabilities community other than that camp counselor experience, which did help me, come into things with an open mind. But yes, very little. I don't know about you, Sarah. Is that did you have any more experience than I did?
No, not really. As an adult, I haven't worked with people with disabilities per se. I had a long career teaching English as a second language. So I worked with a lot of international people. And that was its own sort of disability. But the one thing was that when I was growing up, I went to a public school in Iowa City, Iowa. And it happened to be that our elementary school was the school for the entire district where they brought in all the kids with disabilities. So these were kids that were deaf, kids that had physical disabilities, kids with mental disabilities, and they had some special classes at our school. And then they were also integrated into our classes to the extent that the individual students could be. And so growing up as a child, there were a handful of students with disabilities that I knew fairly well because they were in my classes. And it's been kind of interesting. Some of those people I've been able to kind of keep track of over the years and see what has happened and for them as adults. But that was really my only sort of one-on-one or, up close and personal experience with people with a range of disabilities.
Nice. You guys have any so before you guys started this documentary, did you guys have any previous beliefs about the disability community before making your film? And if so, what were your beliefs? What beliefs did changed when you made the film?
And one thing I'd like to add on top to my previous response, on top of having that somewhat professional background, maybe, or just exposure to the disabilities community, I also was diagnosed with epilepsy at a very young age. So I think that's also kind of made me, again, on top of that brief professional experience I described, I think that's also helped me, personally have, develop a lot of sympathy towards the disabilities community, if that also kind of answers this question. But I mean, I think I mentioned having like coming into things with an open mind and dealing with the disabilities community with people deal with all different kinds of things, and even saying people with disabilities, that has a very wide range. So Yeah, no, I don't think so. I can't, at least as of right now, I can't really think of any, notable preconceived beliefs about the disability community that were necessarily changed by the end of this. And again, this could be one thing where I'm like, which does happen a lot. Like I'll think of something after the interview's over. So, but yeah, I can't really think of anything off the top of my head that was necessarily, I guess, impacted by the production of the film. Sarah, do you have a more interesting answer than I do?
Well, I think the production really, I learned a lot, Sawyer. I learned a lot from you and a lot from Wyatt and your mom and Dane, especially. First of all, I'll say that I didn't really come from a background of putting people with disabilities all together. I always thought of these different disabilities as very distinct and different and so on. And yet, of course, it makes sense that for all kinds of reasons, it's good to have sort of an umbrella way of looking at people with disabilities, and especially people who have hidden disabilities. They often don't seem to feel like they have a place where they belong. And so to have, kind of a blanket term for everybody who has some kind of a problem or a difference or something that keeps them from being sort of on the track of being, having opportunities for normal education or whatever. I was, most importantly, I think I was struck by the value of the program, the CCS program, and how incredible that opportunity was. And I loved how your mom in particular talked about how having this 4-year time during the transition from high school into adulthood really made a huge difference in your life. And Mary Morningstar talked about all of the statistics around the success that people who've had a college education or college experience can benefit from. And the data is clear. I mean, people who are able to get to college in one fashion or another, whether it's through a regular degree program or certificate program or some other kind of Think College program, something, it makes a big difference in what the trajectory of their entire adult life is going to look like. And I was overwhelmingly impressed by you and all of your successes and how you've been handling things, and to just see that your autism doesn't have to be a deal breaker for you to have a really successful and wonderful life. So yeah, I learned a lot from you in particular, Sawyer.
Yeah, and for people who don't know, I was actually in the I was actually in a community program before in TCIO, like kind of like one thing that they do after high school. And then the program actually became a loan. It happened to be, people don't know this, the age they were looking for at the time. And I happened to be just a year under, so I could go in. And so very thankful, because had I waited a year, I wouldn't have been able to go to the TCIO program. So I was very lucky to be the age. And it happened, I went to like this conference my program did, and that's where they had it. And they were like, we want people to sign up for this program, forced everyone in the state of Oregon. And so that's where I signed up, and a few other kids from my classroom signed up. But yeah, I was very thankful. It was an accident, I ran into it, but I was very thankful I did. Like you said, it has changed. It helped me with the Nike job big time. And there was stuff I want to do. It's made it more credible for me to get stuff. So I would say it helped out a lot.
That's great.
What makes your documentary different from other documentaries in the disabilities community?
So I just, you did send us the questions. I did also want to answer. I mean, I know Sarah, I think you kind of answered our previous question, but And maybe these answers tie into the question you asked about preconceived beliefs and what we learned. But I also wanted to just add in that how much I enjoyed hearing your mom specifically explain how people with autism have a very valuable perspective that they can and a method of thinking that creates better problem solving. And I love that. That's what I think that would be what I would say I learned the most, and maybe it changed some of my preconceived beliefs, in fact. But I think that's also like thinking about autism that way, that people who have autism can have a different way of processing things and can solve problems with a different perspective than most people can. I think that's awesome, and I think it's very important that, I guess, as a society we collectively approach people with autism that way, instead of the ways that we have in the past, where in a more, I guess, I don't want to say problematic way, but instead of thinking that this person suffers from autism, or maybe approaching it in the way that people with autism have a lot to offer, which you clearly do, and I think this documentary covers quite well. But so Sarah, do you want to go ahead and answer the question on the documentary? I think I have to prep my answer a bit after getting that out there. But
well, the first thing I'll say, Sawyer, is that I've gone ahead and submitted this to 13 different film festivals, and a few of them are just regular film festivals. There's nothing specific about them. For example, there's a New York Short Documentary Film Festival. It's a very, very highly regarded film festival. Because this is a short documentary film, it'd be wonderful if it got in there. But most of the festivals are on some level either focused on disabilities or on autism. But the thing I have to tell you is I'm not that familiar with other kinds of films that center around disabilities. I've seen a few. I've seen some television shows. The primary source material, as far as research goes, were the two films that Wyatt had been in when he was younger. And I think have you seen those?
I haven't personally seen it, but I've heard about it.
Yeah. So Autism the Musical and Autism the Sequel. I watched both of those at the very beginning of this whole process. And they were both made by the same documentarian. But it gave me a good idea of how she was going about this work and how to approach people with disabilities and how to be in the room. And that was very helpful. One of the festivals that we've been entered into, it's AIFF. It's actually in Rome, Italy.
Oh.
And it is entirely run by neurodivergent people. So that is a very unique festival, and I'm very excited about it. And I'd love to see this piece get accepted to it, because it's not just about having content. The entire festival is entirely run, organized, everything by people who are neurodivergent. And I think that's pretty cool. But the world out there is very interested. One of the other major disability festivals is based in Kosovo, I think. And we entered a festival in Albania, another one in Hungary. Hungary has a disabilities festival. So some of these are international. In fact, it seems as though there's a much more sort of laser focus on disabilities and film internationally than there is domestically. But the festival we'll hear back from next is Outfest in Austin, Texas, and it's the Texas Autism Festival. And we should hear back from them by the end of the month. And we did just get nominated for the next phase in the Beach Cities Inspirational Film Festival in Beach Cities, in California. And gosh, Oh, maybe you can help me out here. San Clemente, is that a beach town, Matt?
Yep. San Clemente is that south of Orange County. It's basically southern Orange County on your way to San Diego. But yes, San
That's it.
Clemente.
Okay, that's it. So that's one of our two California festivals, and the San Diego documentary film festival is the other. But anyway, I just today sent them DVD screeners because for some reason they needed DVD screeners. So I'm excited that we are entering into this world. And in the course of this next year, we're going to learn a lot and ask the same question of me next year. And we can really have a conversation about films centered around disabilities and how ours compares.
Yeah, that's really cool. To know that obviously we're really helping the program out and really helping the industry out. And I didn't realize that these festivals were around the world. I thought they were neat. I mean, I heard about the Austin, Texas one because my sister goes to school for she for to get her business degree in media. And so I've heard about the Austin one, but I didn't realize there were ones around the world, so that's kind of cool.
Very cool.
And I think I'm kind of in the same boat as Sarah. I don't know if I'm necessarily qualified to say, you know, how this, you know, compares to other pieces that are out there. But what I can say is that what I really like about this film is that we get into a large, you know, we tackle this issue, but we do so in a way that's very much through your and Wyatt's individual stories. And because, you know, we had such a long timeline to work with us, that allowed us to kind of follow you guys around and really get to know you and really get perspective on your lives. So I think that's what this really does well.
So do you guys have any questions for me before the time runs out? Do you have any questions for me?
Well, one question I have for you is, would you be interested in traveling to a film festival if we get into one? Because there's usually panel discussions and conversations and talk back after the film. And there's nothing more exciting for festival goers than to have the people who are on screen be at the festival.
Absolutely, I would love to. If we're that fortunate enough for Will, if we're that fortunate, because obviously like we have to be nominated for an award, I guess. But if we're that fortunate to be nominated, of course, I'd come to I know I wouldn't be able to come to all of them, but I would come to some of them.
Yeah, well, some of them it would be way too expensive to travel to, but some of them aren't too far. The one we're most likely to get into, and it is local, is the Portland Film Festival. And that would be easy enough to do. We also are entered in the Seattle Film Festival. So if we get in there, that's not too far to travel.
No, not at all. But yeah, I would love to. And obviously, like and obviously, hopefully we can get into the California one, and hopefully we can get our message across and get into a lot, hopefully. So
I can't think of any other questions right now. I'm just so glad that you're doing this, and how exciting that you've got this channel up and running.
yeah, it literally just was, like I said, well, I mean, it literally just was. I told my father the other day, I cannot believe like I started a YouTube channel. It literally, because my dream, as you know, is eventually to make the Paralympics for swimming. So I thought for my entire life that was just going to be a dream, but then all these other dreams popped up, and so one day I was like, hey, I want to start a YouTube channel. And I think at first my provider literally thought I was kind of like just like popping off and joking a little bit. So I don't think he thought I was actually serious until like I think she came over that day and I was like, hey, you're gonna be my first interviewee. And so we did it on my computer. That's our first unedited video because our first video, but yeah, she was shocked because I was literally that day she came over Wednesday a while back. I was like, hey, by the way, would you be my first interviewee? So
Great stuff, Sawyer. And you know, and just even, you know, don't worry about the technical aspects. Sometimes just getting comfortable doing interviews and uploading your own content and writing, you know, like coming up with great questions is a super awesome skill to have. So keep it up.
Thank you guys so much for being a part of this video. For everybody out there, go and like and subscribe.